The Google Pixel 8a, as seen in this video, was sent out as a hashtag gift from Google by Team Pixel. Just got to make that very clear before we get into the review. So I've had the Google Pixel 8a for right around 2 weeks now, and even though there are some downsides to this phone, I do love it. And I'm explaining to you why in this video, the multiple reasons why I've come to love the Pixel 8a. Alright, so taking a look at the Pixel 8a, you can see at the corners there's some nice radius. You can see they curved this 8a at each corner. And while the rectangular look of the 7a was quite nice, I just prefer this look. I think it feels nicer in the hand. I think it's smoother. And while this phone can be a little bit slippery due to this back plastic, it definitely feels like a really, really nice ergonomic phone to hold in the hand. And one of the smaller ones, honestly, because there's not a lot of like phones that are, this small these days. A lot of phones are getting super large, and the Pixel 8a is a refreshing breath of fresh air, as it just feels a little bit smaller than some of the competition. But also, you would think this might be glass if you weren't actually really looking closely, but it's definitely a plastic back here for the Google Pixel 8a. Okay, so the Google Pixel 8a is definitely not the lightest phone out there. It's actually a little bit hefty. It's over 180 grams, and the Pixel 8a has a good trade-off for that reason though, and it's one of the reasons I love it, and that is the battery life. Google stuffed in a really good sizable battery in here, and you can see right there it's estimating 2 days, 1 hour. I could tell you right away you're gonna have to let the phone learn your usage and give you some adaptive, battery life, but it'll adapt to your usage. But overall, I find that the phone just lasts and lasts and lasts. And this is a really good thing because you don't want to buy a phone in 2024 and then the battery's dying constantly. That's just not something you want. And I just love the Pixel AA for making the trade-off of being a little bit heavier but giving you much better battery life. Okay, so the next one I really love about the Pixel 8a is the clean Google software experience. So you go into the app drawer and it's straight up Google Apps as you would expect from a Pixel. Down here you have the search bar, which can double as the Gemini. You could use Gemini right here, and it'll tell you some things you can do and stuff like that. That's quite nice if you want to use that instead of the Google search assistant. Then you have a really cohesive ecosystem of Google stuff in here that just looks clean, minimal, and gets a lot of software updates. And pretty much all the Google apps work incredibly well on here. So it's kind of reminding me of the minimal experience of like an iPhone, but a Google version of it. So I really, really love the Pixel 8a for that. I think it's a very simple phone to get a hold of and just use without being overly complex. It's pretty easy to use, honestly. I do have to update my Mint Mobile. But you could see right here, big buttons for going ahead and clicking things. Just a pretty simple phone to use, and I really, really love me some Pixel for this reason alone. It really is pretty solid. Also, the software updates come in kind of regularly, so that's really good. Plus, you're going to get like 7 years of updates here. So this is not a bad investment in terms of software support. Cameras on here, they are ridiculous for the Google Pixel 8a. But when I say ridiculous, I'm not talking about the actual spec. It's just a dual camera, 64 megapixel plus 13. But it's not really that I'm speaking on. It's kind of like the way it processes the photos. You wouldn't really expect the kind of quality that the Pixel 8a produces at this price. Also, there's a lot of AI features to allow you to erase audio in the background, erase objects from the image due to the AI. Let me show you some samples here of how these pictures turned out. All right, so when you look at this photo right here, you see really good detail, really good dynamic range, and you can see right here, just really good detail in the background. I mean, the kind of results you get from this phone at this price point could rival some phones that cost several $100s more. I'm being honest with you, it really does. It's kind of weird that you can get this kind of quality at this price. So is never really sleeping on the quality of the images. That's just not happening. All right, so here's some more photos. You can just see very, very nice detail. Again, I would say this is more like an $800 phone in terms of photo quality and video quality. It's up there with a $700, $800 phone. So this is one of the strong points of getting like an A line. And this wasn't really that different on the 7A. It was also very good as well. So yeah, the 8A line is not really being cheap on the photos. Of course, you do get better with the 8 Pro series, But this is not nothing to laugh at. This is a really, really strong camera showing for a Pixel 8a here. When I first seen the bezels on the Pixel 8a, I almost laughed just because of how, big they are by comparison to my other phones. Like you have to like compare it side by side with like a S24. You'll see a big difference. The chin is pretty substantial and the top portion is kind of substantial. But I kind of quickly got used to it and I don't really care anymore. Also, if you throw a black case on here, you'll probably not really notice that much. But I'm going to tell you something. I'll take these bezels all day of the week in the 120 hertz over a 60 hertz display with thin bezels. So I am okay with that sacrifice, but also getting the smooth display. So I love the fact that Google chose to sacrifice the bezels to give you a smooth display instead. That's a really good update. And some people are going to say, well, there's a lot of Asian phones or Chinese phones that have, or other brands that have, cheaper than this that have thin bezels and 120 hertz. Yeah, but they don't have Google software. That's going to the vanilla Google software that's going to get updated for 7 years support. They don't have that update support, and they don't have the AI chip on board with the Tensor or the AI features that the Google Pixel will give you for such a long time. So keep that in mind as well. So when it comes to performance of the Tensor G3, I find that it's not the fastest when it comes to gaming, benchmarks, and none of that, but it's enough to get me through my daily task. It has enough power for daily usage, and it's not really going to upset anybody, I feel like, who's buying this phone to use it as their day-to-day smartphone. I mean, just a smartphone. You don't buy this thing to be a gaming machine. You don't buy this thing to be your video editing beast. You don't do that kind of stuff. You buy it for smartphone tasks. And it runs Gemini fantastic. It runs the Google software fantastic. And it has enough performance for daily users. Now, testing this in a couple of years, I expect it to perform pretty well as well. I will say when I do push it heavy, it can get a little bit warm, but it's nothing unbearing. But still, I'm not going to give them all the praise. The Tensor is definitely not the fastest chip out there. But this phone is plenty of performance, I think, for the target buyer of this product. That's what I've been thinking about it. And I love the fact that it runs very smooth, regardless of the fact that it doesn't have the fastest processor out there. But I'm still excited to see where Google's going to take their next Tensor chip. I think as they improve that, it's going to get even better for all the Pixel line of phones. I also love the Google Pixel's minimal aesthetic. It's kind of a clean phone, camera bar. It's not too thick off the body. It's got its own unique look. The button placement is kind of like right in the perfect location. It's not too high, not too low. While the bezels do look like a phone from 2018, that doesn't really matter too much. The USB-C, it's just a clean, simple phone. And I just like that minimal aesthetic. It's simple. You don't think about it. It's not in your face. It's not overly like high tech. It's a simple, clean, modern smartphone. Just does the job. It does have some more saturation if you go with something like the aloe green or the bay blue. It's definitely going to be more punchy in the colorways. But this black is a very simple, clean obsidian right here. You can also get this in porcelain as well if you want another simple color. I love the fact that it still has a SIM card slot. Thank you, Google, for not getting rid of that. That life's so much easier when swapping between different devices, including my very own Pixel line of devices. When I'm changing between those devices, it's very simple to just have a SIM card. While this does have, a plastic back, it also has wireless charging support. So that's quite nice here as well for the Google Pixel 8a, and I've loved it for those reasons right there. I've also loved the color options of this phone. I like the obsidian, I like the bay blue, the aloe green is really vibrant. I just think it's a really, really nice option. And if you go here into wallpapers for the Google Pixel 8a, let's go into more wallpapers, take a look at the mineral base. You have a wallpaper coating for any color you go with. This is for the bay blue, the obsidian wallpapers up here. We have the wallpapers for the porcelain and the aloe green down there. Also, of course, you'll have generative AI wallpapers up here that you can go ahead and tweak around with. Most Android phones are starting to get those now. Nice wallpaper selection too, by the way. But yeah, just the color options are quite nice this year, especially that bay blue and the aloe green. And my very last reason, which I mentioned and briefly touched on earlier, is just kind of the update support. I love that this phone is updated more regularly, consistently, and for a longer period of time than a lot of phones in this price category. That is a huge benefit. Now, some of the Samsung phones are priced well, but I can tell you, honestly, I do think that the Pixel runs better and smoother than like a Galaxy A55, A35. This phone just runs better than those devices day to day just because of the simpler software. So I've really been enjoying that. And I mean, really, what is not to like with this phone? Well, honestly, some people will say the plastic body and mostly the bezels. I do think those two things are the only thing. All Google would have to do is slim out the bezels on the next version, make a slightly faster CPU, and it'll be even much better. So the A line here is doing really well. And so that's my take on the Google Pixel 8a. That's why I've been loving this phone over the past couple of weeks. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's terrible? Like, I'm not going to just say that because I don't feel that way, honestly, about this product. Is it the best phone I've ever seen? Absolutely not. Is it the best one on the market? No, but it's a really smart, simple phone at a pretty good price. And as the prices come down, it is $499. As it comes down with some discounts and stuff like that, it's going to be an absolute steal. So let me know your thoughts on the Pixel 8a. Do you enjoy it? And also stay tuned because I'm going to cover this against the Nothing phone. We still haven't done that. And there's a couple other speed tests I want to do with this one to see how it stacks up by comparison. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. I'll catch you all in the next episode. And peace.